This presentation will discuss the concept of 21st century literacies, its impact on students, as well as how teachers can incorporate modern literary forms within the context of your child's classroom. This resource will relate to traditional forms of literacy, that is, reading and writing, or what can otherwise be known as print-based media, and how we can introduce new digital technologies to complement, but not saturate, our students' development of a set of undoubtedly important skills involving said traditional forms of literature. Furthermore, with the advent of globalization and continued prominence of social media within a student's life, having a firm understanding of modern literacies is critical, particularly in regards to being able to communicate effectively globally and across a variety of cultures. According to the National Council of Teachers of English, students who wish to be a successful participant in the 21st century global society must be able to, firstly, develop proficiency and fluency with the tools of technology. This idea involves being adept and confident in not only being a participant in the functionality of new digital technologies, but also having the potential to successfully communicate ideas and information in digital forms if required. That is, in a school or work environment. Next, students must be able to build intentional cross-cultural connections and relationships with others, so to pose and solve problems collaboratively and strengthen independent thought. This idea relates to the ever-growing impact of globalization around the world, but is particularly evident within Australia. Having students and teachers of different cultures within schools can often pose challenges, though it is of utmost importance that we acknowledge their ideas and use them to create positive relationships. Finally, students must be able to create, critique, analyze, and evaluate multimedia text. Having the ability to critically evaluate multimodal literacy, that is, texts that incorporate more than one literary resource, for example written content alongside visual stimuli, is a skill of utmost importance. More often than not, multimodal resources, like the one you are viewing right now, involve some form of modern digitalized technology. It is also worth noting that being literate in the 21st century does not involve disregarding traditional forms of literacy, that is, print-based reading and writing. In fact, it is far from it, and there is a common misconception around that idea. To continue this discussion, it is important to acknowledge the impact that 21st century literacy has had on a student's social worlds. Alongside the ever-growing prominence of digital technologies on a student's life, in particular with the advent of the internet and social media, has been a reveal in an avenue of communication that can be utilized almost whenever and wherever you may be. Within the context of this idea, the effect globalization has had has also meant that students are encountering a much broader range of cultures, ideas, and skills that would not have been possible without the advancements in communicative power. Having students who can understand that the differences in culture and social practices is important, as well as helping us assist to develop new solutions to problems rather than act as a barrier to communication, which then creates problems within itself. Finally, being able to incorporate 21st century literacies within the context of the classroom can be challenging. Having the technology to do so is one thing, but actually creating engaging and thought-out content is another issue. As explained earlier, being able to collaborate ideas whilst developing an intercultural approach is critical. Alongside speech, reading and writing, activities which promote collaborative work, which require levels of both individual and group contributions, are important in reinforcing this idea. Furthermore, introducing aspects of multimodal literacy into the classroom through the use of modern digital technologies is another way of incorporating new literacy. Having students analyze a multimodal text or even create their own introduces them to a wide range of possibilities and avenues to communicate new ideas. The creation of a multimodal text requires the utilization of a number of semiotic resources, otherwise known as meaning makers, which consist of linguistic, visual, spatial, gestural, and audio modes. To conclude, 21st century literacy is an ever-expanding database of avenues for communicating ideas, sharing cultural practices, as well as introducing another layer of a dynamic social world. The surge in advancements of digital technologies has meant that teachers have the ability to incorporate students' understanding of multi-literacies alongside modern media. It is important to remember that traditional forms of literacy, that is, reading, writing and speech, are just as important as ever, and the new modes of literacy simply complement our print-based media, allowing for a greater level of depth, creativity and persuasion in modern-day texts.